Star Wars Rebellion occupies a weird space for me. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. See, when I've filmed a tutorial and then I'm editing that video, I have no desire to play that game. It's just been in my head for so long at that point that it kind of feels like work. But Star Wars Rebellion is the first game that I've taught where that hasn't been the case. Now, every time I play it, I get frustrated, I get stressed out, and the last round is usually a foregone conclusion, which is never what you want in a game. And yet, I keep wanting to come back to it. Let's start with my main criticisms of the game. The biggest one being combat. I don't love it. I think it's clunky, and I think that even though the expansion definitely improves combat, it still brings the game to a screeching halt as soon as a fight breaks out. And beyond that, I think that the rules in general are just a little bit fiddly. I don't mind a complicated game, but if I want to do something and I'm building a strategy around this one thing and then I find out because of some fringe case that that one thing in that specific scenario goes against the rules, I become a pretty grumpy gamer. There are other things as well, but suffice to say, I don't think Rebellion is perfect. So why do I keep wanting to play it?
Now, I don't have any one big answer to that, but I think I do have a few small ones. First off, I love Star Wars. I just do. It's been a big part of my life ever since I was a kid, and playing this game, it really makes you feel like you're in the movies. Or, more accurately, that you are the movies. Which makes sense, because playing a game of Rebellion does take about as much time as watching the original trilogy back to back. Of course, judging by the comments on my Twilight Imperium videos, some of you probably play it a lot faster than I do, and that's fine. It takes a long time for me, and that's both a good and bad thing. Because of its length, it's definitely not going to get to the table as often as some other games that I own and enjoy. But because of the player count, I am going to be able to get it to the table more often than, say, Twilight Imperium. And that's not nothing.
Lastly, there's a kind of magic to this game that I can't really quantify. I'm sure sometimes the gameplay is just remarkable, but a lot of the games that I've played, they frankly have been one-sided affairs that I'm almost relieved to finish. But what happens after the game? That's something special. I started thinking about what could have been. What if I had placed my base here instead of there? Or what if you had blown up this planet instead of that one? Or what if the fight had just gone this way instead of the way that it did? With such a long competitive game, the after-action report is so exciting. You're revealing the plans that you were setting up that maybe didn't quite happen the way that you thought they were, or you finally figure out what was going on this one side of the system the entire game. And because a lot of the game's frustrations affect both players, you end up bonding over them rather than staying mad. I don't know if Rebellion is going to keep getting played as much as the days go by, but every time I think about it now, I think about what would make the perfect game. The Rebel base is somewhere you wouldn't expect, but the search continues onward. The Imperial war machine grows stronger and stronger, but somehow the Rebels manage to stay afloat. The last round comes down to a decision, a tense battle, or a single roll of the dice, and when it's over, both sides cry out, one in victory, one in defeat, but both satisfied at the outcome. I think that's why I keep coming back to it. What about you? Oh, and by the way, don't at me about the whole Star Trek versus Star Wars thing. Get you a man who loves both. Bye!